Hello and welcome to one more episode of Ideas to the World. Enjoy your trip. It's good to be back. Today I have a question from a Portuguese viewer that was sent to my Portuguese channel. So this is why this is in Portuguese from Portugal. Portuguese from Portugal is different from Brazil, even though these different nations can understand in their own language. It's like different accent and some different words, but you can understand really well. I think it's like Ukrainian and Russian, but Portuguese and Brazilian they are even more similar. So this person asks, "Hello, João. My name in Portugal. John is like a translation. For you, which is the evil of society in these days in relationship to depressions and anxieties? Which do you think it is the main reason for it?" According to Dr. Anna Lemke, which produced the brilliant book called Dopamine Nation, one hypothesis that definitely contributes to it, it is the fact that today we have an abundance of rich stimulus. And when I say rich stimulus, it is a stimulus that for our dopaminergic system, which is the system of rewards and motivation, which the base function for it, it is the dopamine called the substance called dopamine, which is a biochemical substance. And by richness of stimulus these days, it is the pleasures that are intense and short. Sugar-based foods, even processed foods, majority, um, fats that are also processed and they are not good. I'm not sure about this last, but I believe it so. It makes sense for me at least. But sugars, it is one of the major ones, and caloric rich foods. Also, consuming pornography, masturbation, gambling, social media, video games, even. Video games too, in some sense, it can be addicting and is really intense stimulus. Social acceptance through social media, example, posting something and having 1,000 likes. The hyper connection between different people and the easiness to develop into a new relationship online and not necessarily in dating, but like friends talking. The newness stimulus, so we can have infinite access to things that are new to us, and novelty is one of the major forces that drives human behavior in this dopaminergic system too. Novelty. It also gives a good kick of dopamine, and that makes us waste a good chunk of dopamine really fast. And dopamine it is for motivation and pleasure, more motivation than pleasure, because if we put a rat pressing the leverage sometimes to get the food, the peak of dopamine is while he's pressing the leverage or when he knows that he's going to have the food, like something that signals that he's going to have the food, is not the food in itself. Even though, of course, when he eats the food, he produces some little peak of dopamine, but like this, and when he knows he's going to have the food or he's pressing the leverage, he's like, boom, huge difference. And that's why we feel more pleasure in progress more than reward. So we should be putting more focus on progress more than reward. And I talked about Michael Phelps and why he felt a huge emptiness inside of him after the Olympic Games based on this dopaminergic system. So if you want, you can check my last why Michael Phelps got this wrong, something like this on my channel. And these substances, these substances that drive us crazy in dopamine, they are not good for us. And this all is going to make sense and converge to the anxiety and depression. Dopamine, it is renewal and limited substance. So it is limited. We produce a limited amount of dopamine. It is not infinite. And a good metaphor to look at this, it is to look at like a tank of water. So I'm looking posts on social media. I'm driving my dopamine away. I'm eating somewhere else. I'm eating some cheap cookies. I'm wasting dopamine. I'm watching Netflix. I'm wasting dopamine. I'm eating McDonald's and fast food, eating fries. I'm wasting dopamine because these give these high intense peaks in dopamine. And as I waste my dopamine, that it is limited, its production on these types of behaviors, there are less dopamine or even none to engage in more deep, productive, and meaningful activities during the day that will make us do some progress towards our final end goals. Um, and it is that progress and meaningful work and connections that make us feel fulfilled and feel good. So, if you waste your dopamine in these cheap activities, how the hell are you are going to have dopamine to engage in deep social interaction, deep conversations, deep productive work, and engage in deep meaningful activities? You don't have, right? And this is really also true in connections, because if you waste all of it here, here are going to be more impulsive. The connections are not going to be so much deep, are going to be more superficial. And deep connections give also us meaning and meaningful connections, not like these cheap, fast, only superficial driven connections. So it is nice to have some good dopamine for true deep um, activities that make us get feeling connected towards progress to and go and towards our community. Because even though this is more intense, this is not happiness, because people are here and they want to get out of here. Like they feel good in gaming, being in social media, but they want to get out. And even though here is not so much intense, it is more deep, and the wellness here it is more, a lot more. And you know, one thing that it is more interesting is that if you don't engage in these activities, the person is going to feel pleasure anyways, but it is going to be more sensible to what interacts with. So if you do a dopamine fast, you will feel more pleasure drinking water. You will feel more the taste of the chicken and rice if you eat rice. I look to reduce slash not eat rice, but I have to eat. But I eat something. I eat something time to time, but I prefer to not eat, just because it is my mother still that makes the fucking dinner. I'm still a student, unfortunately, but I'm doing my best to get out of here as soon as I can. And it has good resources, right? So if you waste here, there is no dopamine to do these activities. So a solution that Dr. Anna Lemke proposes to his clients, and I'm also still going to talk about depression and anxiety, and I also talk a little bit, right? Because, not right, yes, I talk a little bit already, because if you don't have deep connections, if you don't have meaning, if you don't have long-term goals, and you don't engage in work that signal progress towards those goals, and you only waste your dopamine here, you are more likely to have depression, because one of the characteristics slash indicators of depression, it is anhedonia, which is the incapacity to feel pleasure towards daily activities. So the person, or even desire, the person doesn't have desire to get out of the bed, the person does not have a desire to get into social connections. So the person, and sometimes cannot even be like this, it can even be worse, and depression, it has different causes, and it can be because of different things. So this is just one hypothesis, but definitely contributes to it, as you already has started to understood or already know. Um, so um, the person only wants to be in bed watching Netflix and drinking Coca-Cola, eating fries, etc., etc. It has no progress, no goals, no deep connection towards life. It is just here, and here is superficial, but it is more intense, more pleasurable, at least temporarily, but it gives people more hopelessness. And sooner than later, the doses are not enough of what a person does. So the person wants a higher dose, or just to not feel bad needs the same dose. Because as people engage in new behaviors like social media, and I'm saying this era, in the beginning was all new, like, ooh, social media videos, my God, this is amazing, new technology. But as we normalize the use of technology, engaging in social media is not like a newest cool thing. It is like normal. It is not such a high driving force of novelty. So we have habituated ourselves to the use of social media. So it doesn't give us so much pleasure. So for the person to have just the feeling of satisfaction and not feel some symptoms of abstinence or withdrawal of social media, let's say, the person needs to maintain the behavior. And you can also notice this if you quit off social media, for example, and do a like kind of fasting or just reduce the high intense short-term pleasures, you will feel more emotions and feelings, and feel more intense. You will feel more intense the experience of using social media. I talk for personal experience, but it's general, like the feeling of feeling more the taste of the water, feeling more the chicken. It is general. You will release dopamine in small little things that you will not release. I'm not sure if the yeah that you will not release because of these high intense short term activities. So as you can also notice, if the person it puts all its pleasure here and all its motivation here, and the person can enter in self sabotage, that the person had some goals, long term goals, but as it enters on this loop or as it engages here, it hacks the long term goal. The person is thinking social media a little bit, or food, or study. Let's say that the person does not engage in study instantly and says, "Oh, I'm going to social media or some cookies." After a while, 1 hour passed. Oh, now I don't want to go to study. I'm already engaged on this activity. I'm already with my stomach full. I'm already 1 hour here, and now I don't want to study. Like, right? So as the person just hijacked the long term goal, and as it engages more and more here, it is more harder for the person to feel engaged towards the long term goal, because all their actions and his dopaminergic system, it is being moved towards the high intense short term pleasures. Otherwise, the person will feel pain, and it is more painful, right? If you have eaten a lot of cookies and Oreos and chips and fries, and you had watched a lot of Netflix and social media, you consume like 3 hours of social media, it is more harder to go to study. You know it. So you can look at it like I have spent a whole bunch of my dopamine here, so now I have less motivation to go to study. It is more painful to go to study. Just the act of thinking in studying, it is painful. So you can look at this way, right? So it is more painful to do stuff that are not high intense pleasure. And this is a little bit of extremes, but you can see how this applies to your life in not in an extreme ways, I hope. Just a reducedness of these high intense stimulus, it is really good. One thing more that I want to tell you, it is that if the person is always thinking or looking for these high intense short-term pleasures, it is more probable that he is going to develop some anxiety, because it is a way of coping with the problems of the world. Before we had not much novelty, not much high different stimulus and yeah, and external forces pulling us apart. So we had time to process emotions, we had time to process information, we had time to process what the hell is going to happen. And the community was more solid. People were more solid in some mental sense. So the anxieties went away, right? There is no chance, just go. Now, to cope with problems, we can engage in these short, high intense activities and move our attention and focus to these. So we have less cognitive resources to the more real and fundamental problems of our life, which are, well, your long term goals, the social situations that you are going to face. So if you have less cognitive load to deal with social situations and your problems, you are more prone to have anxiety because you can think through it. And of course, this motivation system messes all up with your emotion. Like it is hard, you feel that you want this. Of course, it all messes with your emotions. Like there's no way you the person on this side more of the balance will have more tendencies to rage and not have much patience, and people on this side have more patience, right? They are not looking for the next high novelty thing, and if you are not giving me novelty, I'm going to freak out. No. So that definitely contributes to anxiety and depression. The people with depression, they have lower levels of dopamine. Think about that. Lower levels of dopamine, they cannot act into the future. So that's some good information, I hope, and I believe it was. And what you can do about it? Well, Dr. Anna Lemke, even though it treats people with abuse of substances, she recommends this to people that use drugs, cannabis, etc. So you can take a little bit to these more normal situations, less extreme situations. A fasting, complete cut out from 100 to 0 from day to night. She also does some recommendations on how to cope with this time. And if you want a video on that, please tell me that. I have a pleasure to do it. But because cutting slowly, I think she writes on the book Dopamine Nation, it might not be the right strategy to balance these, and it is easy to fall. So she found a way. I think it is easy to mm, cut from 100 to 0 suddenly with these strategies. But we are talking in less extreme behaviors, you can do it slowly. Or just cut 100 to 0. Accept the challenge, right? Good luck if you want. Mm, and after 30 days, it is sufficient for this reward system to be resetted. And she says in the book Dopamine Nation that people after the reset dopamine fasting is their hair is more color, have more color, and is with more strength. His skin also are more beautiful. The people have another look at their eyes. They are more healthier, and they have more well-being. That it is good. So that's some guys nice and good thing to know. But if you just reduce, you're already in a good path, right? We are not talking about abuse of substances. So it is already nice and nice to engage with that. So yeah, because if you think about anxiety, it is what if this happens, what if that happens, what if X happens, and even though the person can have a cognitive answer to it, the person might not be able to solidify that answer, being able to act out with courage. So the person can just freak out, right? So many possibilities, so many answers, freak out. And it is more, of course, easy to cope with this type of side that I showed you. And that influences, right? And if you get more boredom in your life, and again, you will feel pleasure, but in more simplest things. You just like, if you don't engage here, you don't have pleasure. No, you have pleasure, but you feel pleasure with more simple things like reading, going into a walk, and even here you can have some pleasure going to the walk. I can tell you by experience, comparing to being closed in the room, for example, and eating chicken and water. I've told you. But where is one little thing that also helps a lot to have more dopamine? natural way of releasing more dopamine. It is exercise. Exercise, it is beautiful. Instead of you releasing dopamine like this, boom, 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 like sugar, 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 doing exercise, it starts the liberation of dopamine slowly, like your levels slowly increase throughout the day, which is amazing. So you have more dopamine that you can allocate to other tasks, which is beautiful, and also decreases the level of stress, anxiety. Imagine this: it was United Kingdom or London, England. It was United Kingdom or England that the National Health Health Institute recommended therapists to do this intervention, recommending, like giving a prescription of exercise to their clients with depression in mild or medium anxiety, mild or low levels of anxiety. I hope I'm doing the translation right. So low levels of anxiety, of depression, sorry, and mild levels of depression, exercise. And anxiety. Can you imagine that? To treat anxiety? Beautiful. You also are stimulating your brain to learn things faster as it promotes neuroplasticity. Exercising, you are also promoting, consequently, more ability to regulate your emotions as you are more in control of your life. And also, you process things faster, you become more smarter. That's what exercise does. Can you believe it? It's amazing. So then do both aerobic and aerobic exercise. Aerobic exercise, I do both. More anaerobic than aerobic, meaning more most of my time is pushing weights, and I do like 10 minutes of running at least, and more 10 twice a day minutes of walking. And I don't want to go more than 1 hour at gym because I want to do other things, but I'm also looking to improve my running time at the moment, because 10 minutes I think it is low, even though I do it like 5 times a week at least. And the other 2 days I look to make in total 30-40 minutes of walking through the entire day. When I wake up, after the lunch, after the dinner. When I wake up, 10-20 minutes, and 10-10 minutes, or 10-10-20, depends. 1 hour, yes, it can go 1 hour of walk. But normally 10 minutes, it's already it's already nice if I go out. It's already enough to calm my brain and give me more creativity, help me find solutions of ideas. I'm just walking in, boom, solution. So that are some causes and some solutions to depression and anxiety, or not solutions, but definitely directions, orientations. One thing more, it is good sleep. Good consistent sleep helps tremendously. Good sleep, excellent sleep, consistent schedule. There is no, I will recover sleeping 11 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. No, forget about that. Consistent sleep. We have a biological clock where it says, hey, time to sleep, time to wake up. And it takes like 1 hour to adjust if you change your sleeping time. But if you are going to change the time that you go to bed and not the time that you wake up. Okay, and I can enter here easily on the sleeping side of things, but I guess that's time for another video. We have 24 minutes. I think I've talked enough about anxiety and depression from this perspective from Dr. Anna Lemke, based on the book Dopamine Nation, and more knowledge about my knowledge about depression and anxiety, which is not really in depth, but I have some insights on it as I study psychology. I'm pretty sure there is lots of information that the psychologists or medical people can complement with this. So if you are one of those people, please put on comments as I can learn also with you. Um, And yeah, I study this type of stuff every day. I'm going to continue to study and get better, but I'm pretty sure that I had stuff that I left out. And there is a whole bunch of talking about these topics that is non-stop. But yeah, exercise, get high intense, short-term pleasurable stimulus, and yeah, pleasure, reward. Here, I consider it as synonymous. And yeah, I think that was a good talk. If you want to support, you can put a like, subscribe, or adhere on Patreon. If you also want me to mentor you or help you achieve your goals, decreasing to be less on this side and to be more on this side, creating good habits, letting bad habits out, finding solutions, regulating emotions, help finding who you are. I'm here to help. If you're not full satisfied, money back. Links in the description. Thank you, as always. Bye bye.